Hi everyone, welcome to iFashi. Today's tutorial will be teaching us how to sew this beautiful dress. This is the part 2 of this tutorial because we have previously dropped the drafting of this dress. Today's tutorial will be taking us through the process of how we cut on fabric and joined all the pieces together to make this beautiful dress. Previously, we took us through the drafting process on how we got the asymmetric neckline we have in front, from the drafting of the front piece to the skirt piece and to the back piece. So today, we are moving straight to the sewing tutorial. And here's the beautiful dress we made from this tutorial, guys. We already mentioned in our previous tutorial that this beautiful dress was made for 5 beautiful bridesmaids, and this is how beautiful it came out on them. It's such a stunning dress, guys. If you haven't watched the part 1, please do well to check the description box for the link to the drafting tutorial so that you will know where to catch up and continue in this part 2 of this tutorial. And if you haven't subscribed to iFashi channel yet, please do well to click that subscribe button. Kindly support this channel by subscribing to this channel. And also remember to follow us on other social media platforms at iFashi because we also drop short tutorials there. Now, let's move into the sewing of this dress. And the first thing we're going to be doing is the cutting on fabric. So we're going to first of all start by folding our fabric into 2, and then we'll place our pattern paper on top to cut out. Kindly watch closely and see how I am placing this skirt pattern. We'll be starting with the skirt cutting. So you're going to place your pattern on top of your fabric like this and open out the down part that we cut when we were drafting. After that, you go ahead and mark out that down part. We open it up in order to achieve the little excess folds that we have on the down part after the knee, right? Now, alternatively, you can also open up your pattern paper like this to cut. But when you open it up, please do not put your fabric on fold because it will give you 2 fronts, right? I am folding my fabric because I folded my pattern. So you can do the open pattern method or you do the folded pattern method, as long as you spread out this knee line that we cut open. And also remember to add your sewing allowance to the upper parts and to the sides. We need sewing allowance to join the upper parts to the upper bodies and then to join the sides to the back as well. So when you open up your skirt after cutting, this is what you're going to have. You're going to see that little excess squeeze that we have at the down part of this dress. Now that we're done with the front skirt cutting, we're going to use this same front piece to cut out the back. Remember, when we were drafting, we drafted only the front. That's because the difference between front and back is just the same allowance. So after folding it into 2 and securing it down with a pin on all the sides, I'll fold another fabric and then place it on top. I initially placed it this way. I decided to turn it the other way because I had more fabrics on this down part. I don't want to waste fabrics. So when you place this front on top of the back to cut, please endeavor to leave out at least 1.5-inch seam allowance at the beginning of the folded part of your fabric, right? Leave out that allowance for your zipper. Then you pin down the front to the back before you go ahead and cut. When you're cutting this time, you're no longer adding seam allowance because we have added seam allowance when we're cutting the front. And after that, you go ahead and open up your zipper allowance for the back, and then you go ahead and notch that zipper allowance so that you will know where the zipper allowance starts from. And with that, we have cut the front skirt and the back skirt, and the next one we're going to cut out is these upper bodies. But before I cut these upper bodies, I'm going to iron my hairstay to my fabric first because it's easier that way. And after ironing, I placed my pattern on top of the fabric and added seam allowance and cut. And that gave us all the pieces we have here. We have our skirt piece that we cut earlier. We have the 4 pieces of the back piece and then the 3 pieces of the front piece. The reason the back is 4 pieces is because the zipper is going to join the 2 center back together to make it 1. So what I'm going to do here now is to remove these pattern papers on top of these fabrics, and then I'll pin them together the way we are going to be stitching them on the sewing machine. So you're going to take your side back 2 and center back 2 and pin it together on the seam allowance, and then take the side back 1 and the center back 1 and pin it together on the seam allowance. Endeavor to add your seam allowance when you are cutting, because we do not have seam allowance on our pattern. So after pinning them together, place your pattern paper on top to be sure you pin them correctly before you go ahead and stitch. So I'm going to speed this part up now, pin everything together the way I'm going to be stitching them. I'll go ahead and repeat the same thing for front as well. So after pinning, as you can see, I'm placing my pattern paper to be sure I pinned it correctly, and the asymmetric neckline are aligned. They are all going the same way for both the lining and the main fabric. Also, I forgot to mention, cut your lining for the upper part. The only part that doesn't have lining is the skirt part, which is the down part. When you're cutting the upper bodies, cut both main fabric and the lining piece. And after pinning the lining and the main fabric of the back, we'll keep it aside and go ahead and pin down the front. Now here are the 3 pieces of the front, which is the center front and the 2 side fronts. The reason we have 2 different side fronts is because one side has a shoulder and the other side doesn't. So we're going to go ahead now, like we did for back, remove our pattern papers and pin them together the way we're going to be stitching them on the sewing machine. You're going to pin down following the seam allowance you added while you were cutting. So after securing it down with a pin, we have the 2 pieces of the front, which is lining and main fabric, and then we also have the same thing for back. I'll take it to the sewing machine now, stitch this part I just pinned for back and front, and I'll be right back to show you guys. After stitching, this is what we have. The 2 side fronts has been stitched to the center front for the front piece, and I've gone ahead to iron out the seam so that it will be very neat on the outside. The next thing now is to go ahead and turn it on the neckline and on the armhole for the front. And for the back piece as well, I've joined the 2 sides to the 2 center back. The next thing now is to place them right sides facing each other, the lining and the main piece, and then turn it on the neckline. But we are not turning the armhole of the back yet, just the front armhole first. And after turning it on the neckline, I'll go ahead and join it to the skirt piece. And I'll be right back to show us what we have. Now this is what we have. For the back, I've gone ahead to turn the neckline, and then I've gone ahead to join the upper part to the skirt part. And this is what we have. When you put them together, here's our zipper allowance, but we haven't turned the armhole of the back yet, only the front. Now here's our front pieces. I've joined the upper part to the skirt part, and we have turned the neck and the armhole of the front. Now we're going to teach us how to achieve this draped chiffon part of the front. And here is the pieces that I'll be using. I've gone ahead to first of all fold the fabric into 2, and I've stitched one part. So one side is neatly folded, the part that was folded into 2, and the other part was stitched, right? The measurement I have for this folded piece of fabric here is 30 inches in width and 26 inches in length. You can go ahead and do yours 30 by 30. The more fabric you have, the more gathered drapes you're going to have on that front. Now let's go ahead and teach us how to attach this piece to the dress. You're going to take the neatly folded part downwards. The neatly folded part, take it downwards, and then the part that you stitched together is the part that will be attached on the neckline. And when you're attaching it, take it to the wrong side. As you can see on your screen, I'm pinning it starting from my shoulder downward. Let the excess be on the slanted part that doesn't have the armhole, right? I started pinning my piece of chiffon fabric from the shoulder, the side of the dress that has a shoulder. You pin it downwards and let the excess remain on the other side that doesn't have a shoulder. And after pinning, when you flip it out to the right side, the stitch you're going to make there will be covered. Now, the next thing is to gather it on the shoulder. As you can see, I just pleated everything we have on that side on top of the shoulder, and I held it down with a pin. The next part we need to gather now is the sides. Remember that other side? So you're going to start picking your fabric the way I am doing on the screen. Starting from this last one, take this last part of the fabric and pin it on the waist, which is the part where we join the upper bodies to the skirts. So you're going to start the gathering from there. And if you want it lower, reduce the gathers. If you want it tighter or you don't want it to be too full, the way you gather it will determine how free or how full it's going to be on that upper part. And after gathering, you're going to now use the back to turn the front on the shoulder. Now, this is why we did not turn the armhole of the back earlier. Remember, the armhole of the back is still opened. So you're going to place it right sides facing each other like this, the usual way we turn our shoulder, right? You make a stitch on the shoulder before you will now use the remaining you have on the shoulder of the back to turn the armhole of the back. And after turning, when you flip it to the right side, the shoulder and the two armholes is going to come out very neat. So now I'm going to take this back and front piece to the sewing machine now, and first of all turn my shoulder. After turning the shoulder, I'll go ahead and fix the zipper on the zipper allowance at the back. And then remember the neckline that we held with pin on the front? I'll stitch it and stitch the gathers we have on the side, and I'll be right back to show you what we have. After doing all of that, this is what we have. This is the front piece and the back piece. It has been joined together on the shoulder. I've gone ahead to turn the armhole of both the front and back. Remember, you're supposed to turn the armhole of the back after joining the shoulder. And then the part of the neckline in front we held with pin. Remember I said after stitching, when you flip it to the right side, the stitch you made there is going to be covered neatly. And then the gathers we held with pin at the side, I've gone ahead to also stitch it down. And then I've gone ahead to fix the zipper at the back on our zipper allowance. And this is what it looks like on the right side. The next thing now is to place both the back and front right sides facing each other, and then we'll go ahead and join it together on both sides. Before we join it together on both sides, we're going to go ahead and shape the dress using the client's body measurement. So you're going to arrange it neatly. If you can, secure it down with a pin so that it doesn't start moving, because we're working with a Duchess fabric. Then we'll go ahead and take our measurement. The first is the waist. You're going to place your tape on the waistline. Take the waist measurement divided by 2, because at this point the cloth is into 2, no longer 4. Then you come down with your 10 inches or 9 inches and take your hip measurement divided by 2, mark out that point, and use your chalk to connect the line where you'll be stitching through. Do the same thing for the bust. Take the bust's measurement divided by 2. As you can see, I am taking it from the midpoint, which means I'm dividing it by 4. But regardless, whether you take it from the middle divided by 4 or you take it at once divided by 2, make sure your measurement is correct so that after joining it on the two sides, this is what you're going to have. Neatly joined. We have fixed our zipper, we have weaved the inside and the down parts. We have also gone ahead to make a very long shawl for our neck piece. You fold your fabric into 2, the way you fold your belt or head tie, and that will be the neck shawl. And here is the beautiful dress we made from this tutorial, guys. Remember I mentioned in the drafting tutorial that it was for 5 bridesmaids, and this is how beautiful it came out looking on them. This dress is very simple, guys. You just need to pay attention to all the tiny little details so that you get it right. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and share this video. And in case you haven't registered for our class, remember that registration is open for the June batch of our beginners and intermediate 3 months intensive training. And the price is currently discounted. Kindly use the link on your screen or the description box to register and save your spot, and I'll see you in class.